One, hello, you guys, and welcome to the Women's Cave. I just found out that Women's Cave is trademarked. So
Really?
I want to explain exactly how this is spelled.
Oh my goodness. Sorry.
WOMENS apostrophe and then cave. Yes, it is incorrect grammar for an author of 13 books.
Well, if you ever read any of our books, you know we have some incorrect grammar, especially when it comes to like poetry. People are like, wait, it should be like a comma, and you should have done a break of the line there, because that's how you read it. We're like, oh, well, thank you for letting us know.
It looked better on the page the way it was. But anyway, I'm Winona, and I remember to introduce us. Oh, come on.
You only introduced yourself. It was no us in that Winona. I'm Jade.
That's Winona number 2.
You know what?
And we wrote books.
You know what? Wait, no. We have to address this. Because you can be the most monster as you want to, but do not put it on me. I'm not a carbon copy of Winona. The world can only hold one Winona. And most of the time, it's barely holding her, so.
We wrote books.
Oh, yeah, we did. We wrote a lot of them, actually. A lot of them. Okay, so the And I Thought series. So And I Thought Divorce Was Bad, available on, Amazon.com and BarnesandNobles.com and Audible. Joe Sanders does a great job. And I Thought Being Grown Up Was Easy. So I've been saying this for the last couple of months, but I really want you people out there to heed my warning. Literally, heed it. Literally just wait until the Audible book comes out, because I was listening to it, and I was like, Joe, did I really write those words? Are you sure? Because I see my name next to them, but wow, you did them justice, like more than justice. It's like you freed them from prison and then gave them like $17 million. Like you just did them that much justice.
Okay, and then we have the rest of the And I Thought series. I thought he was the one. Being Grown Up Was Easy. You guys can check those all out. You put in one, the rest will pop up. And then we have the Misfit Guide.
Yes, and that'll pop up too. So all that you can check out on excuse me, Winona. Let me be professional. I thought I'm not Winona number 2. You check all of that out on andwethought.com. And Winona has something to say, but she's not going to say it. So she's going to wait till the end. And we have a wonderful guest today. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Bobby Lefebvre. I'm a writer, performer, and culture worker, and I currently serve as Colorado's Poet Laureate.
Yes, he does. It feels like you feel pressure when someone says Poet Laureate, and then you said that you write poetry. You're like, don't. I'm not that good.
Not that good.
It's funny because I don't think anybody really knows what Poets Laureate do. It's this funny, interesting thing. And I think a lot of times that position and title is, there's this sort of air of pretentiousness and ivory towerism and all those things I'm trying to break down, but don't feel any kind of way about it. We're all poets.
Okay. I just want to say how, because I would be really happy to see some of those ivory towers fall. My bad. I shouldn't ever admit that, but I would really be happy.
It's the millennial in us.
How are you making the Poet Laureate cool, besides the fact of the cool shirt and the awesome hair? Well.
Oh, yeah, thank you. I think that I consider myself a community-inspired poet. A lot of the work that I do is in community. It's social justice work. And I think far too often, these positions are, they're sort of given to people in academia, which is great. But what I'm interested in doing is showing people another side of poetry, exposing, people on both sides to what poetry can be, what it can sound like, what it can mean, how it can bring people together differently. And so that's the work that I'm interested in. I'm using poetry as a tool to have, different conversations, difficult conversations. I'm the first Poet Laureate in Colorado's history to be a person of color, and I'm the youngest in Colorado's history. And that's cool and all. I've been doing a lot of interviews, but I think it's important for us to recognize that I know I'm not the first qualified person of color or young person to hold this post. So shout outs to all the people who came before me who were robbed of these opportunities because our systems and institutions are steeped in things like white supremacy and racism. So hoping that we can, have better conversations, different conversations, and expand the reach of what poetry is and of what positions like Poet Laureate can mean.
My heart has been touched.
He said that so beautifully. This is why he's poet laureate. He said it so beautiful. Way with words right there.
So I promised I would ask this question, although I have 3 other questions I want to ask about community outreach and stuff. But I promised.
Stay on task, Winona.
Staying on task.
Stay on task.
What is your process for writing poetry?
Yeah, it varies. I'm of the sort of understanding and belief that, writer's block isn't really real to me. So poetry is a very observational art form, right? We're always taking things in, we're distilling things, we're making connections, and whether or not I'm actually writing, my mind is working that way. So much of being a poet is not necessarily the work that we produce, but it's the way that we choose to engage with and see the world, right? And so for me, it usually involves some sort of stimulus, right? Something catches my eye, something makes me feel something, and then immediately I go to these connections, right? That's what metaphor is, right? It's connecting two things that seemingly don't have a relationship and bringing them together. And I think the poetic mind also operates that way. So for me, when something grabs a hold of me.
You froze. No. You're freezing. Hold on. How was that happening? Our internet is blank. You froze a little bit. I am so sorry. I don't know what happened.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll reiterate. So basically, I was saying that anytime I'm affected by something, whether that's something in the news or something I see or something I experience, those thoughts and feelings, they generate these connections in my mind. And so when I start to write, I really just try to connect with those things in an authentic way. I don't really set time to write all the time, so I don't write like, a certain amount of words a day or any of those things. I sort of let it happen when it happens. And when it doesn't happen, I'm not worried about that, because so much about being a poet isn't necessarily what we produce, it's how we see the world, in case you all missed that part, if I froze during that point. So for me, my process involves listening to the world, listening to myself, and writing when it makes sense, and taking time to observe when it doesn't.
Okay, so you're just kind of making us feel so great over here, because we try to say that all the time, and people look at us like we're crazy. They'll be like, what? I don't understand. We were like, well, we went to this bar, and we sat down, and we said hello to the people next to us, and they told us these great stories, and then all of a sudden, it was like 17 poems later.
Yeah. I mean, that's how it works, right? Poems, I got poems about being in bars and cafes and observation things and things I've experienced. That's kind of how it works, right? Like we're impacted by things in a way that allows us to try to put that stuff into words and actions and emotions. And I love that part about what we do.
Oh my goodness.
So I remember when I was in school, I think it was Whitman. If it's not Whitman, I'm sorry, you guys, because I'm not a huge classics fan. I'm admitting a lot today. It's like a confessional in here.
Maybe it was that wine that you got instead of water.
Yeah, that's probably what it was. But I believe he said that it is a writer's true job is to observe the world and then write it and interpret it in a way that everyone can understand.
Mm-hmm.
Are you close? Am I close to getting that right? Have you heard this one from him before?
No, but I mean that makes sense, right? I think that's usually the poet's job, and I think that we've gotten away from that, right? I think for a long time, academic poetry is this thing that lives in, let's try to confuse people. Let's show people how smart we are by doing word gymnastics and using words that nobody's heard of in the last 100 years, and that's fine and all, but I think that the primary reason that we use poetry is for communication. And if we're not understanding each other, and if we're so concerned with being esoteric and showing people how smart we are because our vocabularies are so big, we're missing the point. And so getting poetry back to a point where we do have that conversation, where it's rooted in storytelling and communication and human connection, that's important. And I think that that's part of us sort of removing it from that pedestal of that it can only exist in this very stuffy literary sense.
Okay, that was going to be the question I was going to ask, but you've answered it. So let's just move on to the community outreach one. So do you do spoken word as well?
Yeah, I think, I did. It's interesting, these terms we use to talk about poetry, right? Like poetry, spoken word.
You froze again.
No.
Stage conversation that we have sometimes, spoken word is what those people of color do. It's that rappy, sing-songy, whatever it is, but that's not really what it is, right? Like we know that that's not, we can't sort of minimize all of those things. So I love connecting with poetry in its spoken word roots because, before we had relegated poetry to books, there were people doing this thing for generations and for hundreds and thousands of years, using poetry as a way to pass down culture and ideas, and that was done through the oral tradition and storytelling, especially in communities of color, indigenous communities, African communities. We all had histories rooted in oral storytelling, and so getting back to that is really important for me, and to show how important that is for the art in general is something to be said too.
Okay, I was going to agree with you for a moment. I believe the Iliad was spoken before it was written for years.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, all
yeah.
those things.
So you guys, it really didn't originate with color. It was on Europe.
It was everywhere.
It was everywhere. That's how we got everything written down anyway.
Oral history. So we learned that in school.
So also, I wanted to say, what piece of yours do you feel strongest connects with the community? It takes both worlds, like the ivory tower, the literary world, and then connects it to the modern day man to be able to be like, let's get out here, let's do something, let's make changes.
Yeah, for me, it's I try to address things as they come, and I think that so much about being Poet Laureate is making sense.
No, don't do this. Come on.
Theron, I want to talk about that, and I want to try to make sense of how people are feeling, right? And so I use news and current events to connect with people just as much as I do the internal stuff around, love and family and, internal politics. And so the pieces that I think I enjoy most writing are ones that I know that are going to speak to a wide audience about things that matter.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So
I applaud you for making that happen.
Yeah, it's fun.
So where can people check you out, find out more about you and your stage plays that you've been writing?
Yeah, so I've, being a writer, and that's why I don't, only call myself a poet. I call myself a writer, performer, and culture worker, and the things that I do usually fit in those three boxes. But as a writer, I'm a poet, I'm a playwright, I've written stuff for the screen, and so I'm working on a manuscript right now of flash fiction, and so the more well-versed that we can be in different types of, forms, I think is great. But yeah, I mean, I have a website. It's just my name, BobbyLaFebre.com. I'm on social media quite a bit, and you could follow me there, both on Instagram and Facebook. And I do use that platform for, letting folks know what I'm doing, whether that's daily through Instagram stories, or if it's, more long-term projects and calendars and things like that. I've got a lot going on this year with the Poet Laureate position, so I'm traveling all over the state doing a bunch of cool things. And you can check me out at Colorado Humanities, for that information, a little bit everywhere.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Okay, so the next time we're in Colorado and we're looking for a new poetry book, hopefully we'll run into you at a bar.
Come through. Yeah, absolutely. I'll be there drinking on mezcal neat.
Nice. I think we'll be drinking whiskey neat.
Okay.
Something like that.
Well, Jade is going to go ahead and wrap us up.
Oh, yeah. So you can check out everything your ladies are doing on www.andwethought.com. While you're there, take the time to go to the ladies page and go to the middle.
Yep,
right?
it is the middle.
No. Okay, and to the middle of the page and see the charities that we proudly support that are also doing the Inspiration Women in Media and Journalism on March 21st. Yeah.
We have the awards on the 21st.
I went to sleep right there in the middle. I don't know what's going on. Last week we looked like specters. This week I have a hat and I'm going to sleep. Like, I guess I'm doing too much. You can check out everything you ladies are doing at www.andwethought.com. And remember that wisdom is all around you if
you're open to finding it and accepting it. So peace and love, you guys, from Winona
and Jade. Bye-bye.